And welcome to Q&A Wednesday, where you get to ask your health and wellness questions and I get to answer them. Today's question comes from Susan, and she writes, "Dear Brandis, I sit a lot at a desk for my work, and I'm wondering if there are any yoga chair postures that you would recommend that I do to help alleviate some of the tightness and stiffness I get when sitting. Thank you so much, Susan." Yes, Susan, absolutely. There are chair postures that I would recommend, and there are a lot of them. So today I'm going to condense them down into a few when you're seated and a few when you're standing, if you have the room to do it. Chair postures can also come in handy when or if maybe it's difficult to get down onto the floor to do some of the yoga postures that we talk about. You can also do them seated in a chair. So whether you sit at a desk a lot or you are unable to get down to the floor, the things we're going to talk about today will be helpful for you. So to get started, the first seated chair posture that I recommend is cat-cow. Come to the edge of your chair, and I want you to start by sitting upright. So think about lifting up through the tops of your ears or the top of your head. Take a really nice deep breath in. So inhale, letting your lower rib cage and your abdomen expand. And as you exhale, I want you to think about pulling up and in with that lower abdominal muscle as you start to round at your pelvis, the low to mid back, and then finally just letting your head relax down. And then as you inhale, you'll reverse that curve, starting at your pelvis, the low to mid back, and then finally with your head, lifting your ears towards the sky. Exhale, round again. And always remember to try and relax your shoulders away from your ears to relieve tension. And then inhale, reverse back up. Exhale one more time. And then inhale, reverse. The next one that I recommend are seated spinal twists. So again, you could do these seated on the floor or just as easily seated in a chair. When you perform a seated spinal twist, I want you to try to gently pull that lower abdominal muscle up and in to give your low back stability so that the stretch happens more in your mid back. So when you rotate, you're going to rotate to your right. Your left hand is going to go on the outside of your right thigh, and your right arm or hand are going to go beside you like a kickstand. Keep your shoulders relaxed down away from your ears, and then rotate using that front arm as a lever to help with the rotation. You want to stay up nice and tall though, so make sure you're not rounding as you do this. Hold here for 2 to 3 really nice deep breaths, feeling that lower rib cage and abdomen expand. And then as you exhale, come back to center and then rotate to your left, letting your left hand just go beside you a little bit like a kickstand or for support. Right hand goes on the outside of your left thigh. And then again, you're going to use that front arm to kind of pull and rotate to your left, working within a comfortable range of motion. Hold for 2 or 3 nice deep breaths, and then come back to center. The third one that I recommend is a seated forward bend. So bringing your legs straight out in front of you, maybe flex or pull your toes up towards you if that's tolerable. And for some people, this is enough of a stretch because you want to stay upright, okay? If you feel like you can stretch a little bit further, from here, what you can do is keep your lower abdominal muscles gently engaged again, just kind of pulling them up and in. And you're going to hip hinge and lean forward. So we're not completely rounding to reach our toes. We're actually hip hinging to come forward, keeping wide across our collarbones. Shoulder blades are gently pulled in and down our spine, pulling our shoulders away from our ears. Another option would be to bend one of your legs or let one leg rotate out and then come forward. Sometimes this gives a little bit more stability to the stretch. And this is a great stretch for the back of your legs, your hamstrings, and into your calf muscles. If you wanted to get more into your inner thigh, you could just bring your leg out to the side and then come forward, or do more of a side bend, okay? But you still want to keep the lower abs engaged to make sure you're giving your spine stability, because it's not about how far you go with any of these postures, it's about what you do within a comfortable and controlled range of motion. So those are my favorite seated ones. And I recommend doing about 3 of each of them, 3 cat-cows, and then when you do the stretches, do 3 each direction for 3 deep breath holds, because oftentimes when we sit a lot, we don't take deep breaths. So you can incorporate that deep diaphragmatic breathing into your stretches. So then you're increasing your flexibility, and you're also increasing the oxygen in all of your cells and tissues. Okay, Susan, so some of my favorite standing postures can be done at the back of a chair, or you could also do them facing the front of the chair if you wanted more of an angle with what we are about to do. But usually the back of a chair works really, really well. When we are doing these, we want to make sure that our lower abdominal muscle is again gently pulled up and in. It's an engagement, not a locking down, but that engagement gives our low back stability as we go through these postures. So the first one that I really love is a standing downward dog. So your hands are going to go on the back of the chair, and then you're going to hip hinge here. So we're not rounding at our back, we're coming down. Low abs are engaged to stabilize our back so we don't arch or hyperextend. Hands go on the back of a chair, and then you just come down to a comfortable range of motion for you and stretch. So this can feel great on the underside of your arms, across your mid-back. Just make sure that once you're in this position that your shoulders are still relaxed away from your ears. If that's hard to do, bend your elbows or come up out of it slightly. Once you're here, hold again for 2 or 3 really nice deep breaths. Good. And also visualize rooting down through the soles or the bottoms of your feet and gently engaging those thigh muscles. You can also gently push down into the chair with the palms of your hands as you stretch. So now we're getting some strengthening and some stretching. The next exercise that I like to do is actually called reach, roll, and rise. So we're going to go back down into that same position, but we're not going to lower our bodies down quite as much because we want to allow for some movement in our shoulders. And I'll show you what I mean by that right now. So coming down, I'm going to stay up just a little bit. My lower abs are still engaged. What you'll do is you're going to put your arm out towards the edge of the chair. You're going to gently reach your fingertips slightly away from your body. Roll or rotate your palm or thumb up towards the ceiling, and then gently lift your arm from the chair, feeling these muscles working. So it's not coming from your neck or your upper trap, it's coming from this area down here, the lower part of your shoulder blade. So you want to imagine gliding your shoulder blade down your spine as you lift your arm. This is a great strengthening exercise to help improve our shoulder stability and our posture. So this one you could do 5 to 10 of them. I recommend starting with about 5. Release, you can always come back up and take a break because it is still a stretch for your other side. And then you'll come back down, and then with the other side, you'll put that hand out towards the edge of the outer chair. Reach the arm gently away from you, rotate that palm up, and then lift. And again, remember for this one, you do want to be lifted up a little bit because you have to have the room to lift your arm. If you're all the way down, you're not going to have anywhere to go, and that's where you could injure your shoulder. So don't do that. Bring yourself up and then lift. Again, 5 to 10 of those, and then you can release from there. The next pose that I love to do is mountain into chair pose. And for this one, if you don't have to use the chair, if you don't have any balance issues, You certainly don't have to, but if you do, or you just want to change it up a bit, you can use the back of the chair for support. Root down through the bottoms of your feet with your feet about hip width apart. Gently pull in those lower abdominal muscles. Think about gently spiraling your thighs open and away from each other as you lift up through your glutes. Okay? And then from here, you can put your hands on the back of the chair. And then as you come down, you're going to stick your bum back and then come back up. So when you come down, you want to make sure that you're not here where your knees are in front of your toes, because that will put extra stress and strain on your knees, which we don't want. So you want to shift your weight back so that you feel most of your weight through your heels. If you're too close to the chair, that can be challenging as well. So then you might want to step back. So you can play with that. And then you come down. Good. And I'm keeping my lower abs engaged so I don't hyperextend or overarch my back. And then root through the bottoms of your feet as you come back up, squeezing your thighs. If you want to add some upper body strengthening into this, press down with your thumbs up, press down through the bottom side of your hand onto the chair. So as I push down, I'm engaging my back body. So I'm engaging between my shoulder blade muscles, I'm engaging my triceps because I'm pushing. And now as I push, I'm going to come down and work my legs. So now I've got my upper body and my lower body and my abdominal muscles working. This is a great overall strengthening exercise that you can do in a small space if you're in an office or you just don't have a lot of room. Perfect. And then the last one that I enjoy is a little bit more of a balanced pose and can be a little more challenging. So I recommend using the chair for this one. If we were in a class, I would also recommend using a wall for support. You are going to come back down into that modified downward dog position. So again, lower abs are pulled in. We hip hinge. If you have tight hamstrings, make sure you bend your knees slightly so that you are allowing the hip hinge. If your hamstrings are really tight and you try to come forward, you're going to round, okay? So to have better posture, bend your knees slightly, hip hinge, bum goes back, arms come out. So we're finding that modified downward dog position. And then shift your weight to your right leg as you lift the back leg. Go ahead and flex your foot up. Squeeze through that lifted leg through the thigh and the glute. Reach your heel away from your body and push the palms of your hands down into the chair. And also think about rotating or spiraling your knee and your thigh so it's facing the floor. Hold for a couple of breaths or whatever feels good for you. Go ahead and lower. And then the same thing with the opposite side. Okay, and hold. Again, you can push down through the palms of your hands onto the chair, not only for balance, but also for strengthening of the upper body. As you lift your right leg, reach your heel away from you, squeeze your thigh and your glute on that right side. Hold for a breath or two if that feels good. And then lower down and come back up. Now, if it's hard or difficult to get into those postures, do less because you can still do them. So what that might look like would be if I was going to do downward dog or modified downward dog with the chair, I might come to here because this is what feels good to me and this doesn't, okay? Again, I can't stress enough, it's not about how far you go, it's about what you do with the motion and movement you have. So you could just come down here and come back up. If you wanted to try that warrior 3, same thing, you would come here, you have the chair for stability, and then you would just lift the back leg. Beautiful, just like that. And then switch and go to the other side. Good. And then for mountain to chair pose from here, you could do just smaller squats or smaller knee bends. So instead of going really deep, You go to here and you come back up. Just like that. So there is always a way to work a gentle yoga practice and an effective yoga practice into your life. Whether it's using a chair, whether it's the floor, whether it's the wall. I really just want to emphasize to you that anybody can do yoga. We just have to find what works for you and your body. And I really hope today that we've given you some ideas and some suggestions of ways to incorporate it into your life, whatever that might look like. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions at all, please comment in the comments box below or send me a message. I'm always happy to help. I will see you next week. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.